Yes, and from there arise 9 segments outside. Okay, nerve cords, we can say 9 nerve cords. Okay, and the nervous system is located ventrally. So from the outside, there are a pair of cord which arise from these brain. Okay, this brain is called as the central ganglia. What is ganglion? What is, may we call everything as ganglion or ganglia? Ganglia is a plural. Singular is a ganglion. You have studied the neuron, structure of neuron, axon, dendrites. Yes. What is that? Hmm? Ganglion is nothing but the bunch of neural cells. Okay, when the nerve cells, or you can say the neuron, yes, together and they form a bunch. Yes, that bunch is called as the ganglion. Got it? Okay, it's a very basic question. What is ganglion? Ganglion is but the bunch of the neural cells. Yes, when there is a single cell, you call it as a neuron or a neural cell or nerve cell. Yes, but when the nerve cells are coming together, yes, and they form a bunch, yes, that bunch is called as the ganglion. Yes, one is ganglion, plural is ganglia. Okay, so here is a ganglion, central ganglion. From there arise a pair of the nerve cord. Okay, these are the ventral nerve cords, which is called as the VNS, ventral system. Okay, why it is called as a ventral nervous system? Because it is on the ventral side of the body. Yes. Now, what happens? This pair of the nerve cords now are not separated, but they are interconnected. See, for control and coordination, all parts of the body should have the communication with each other. Yes, you can see there is a nothing, nowhere these two are connected, right? If this is the case, the animal cannot have a proper control as well as the coordination among the movements and its activities. Yes. So to maintain that, what is happening? The transverse nerve cords are arising from each. There will be again a ganglion situated at each point on these cords, and from that ganglion arise the transverse nerve cords. Okay. Okay. Transverse nerve cords are arising. Then what happens? These transverse nerve cords then get branched and they traverse the entire body surface of the animal like this with the branches, sub branches. Yes. Okay, and because of this, what we get is the entire animal, the nervous system looks like the ladder shape. Yes, these are the steps of the ladder. Yes, and this is the ladder, entire the structure of the ladder. Yes, so that is why this nervous system is called as a ladder-like nervous system. Now, if you see the planaria, actually, it is actually the crawling animal. Yes, and if you put the planaria in a vertical section, each section will give rise to the two separate planaria. It's a regenerating animal. I hope you know this. Yes, it has a great feature of regeneration. So if you cut it from vertical axis, it will become, there will be the two planaria. Yes. So why this happens? Because when this planaria is cut into like this, yes, each brain, this ganglia gets separated and it regenerates. This ladder, from where it has got separated, because of this transverse now another support ventral nerve cord will arise here, and the two planaria will be generated. Yes. Okay. So, and all these things are controlled by the nervous system itself. Yes, the nervous system controls this regeneration. Got it? So, we have studied the hydra. Hydra has very diffuse kind of, the network, what we call it as nerve net. Yes, nerve net kind of the nervous system, very diffuse kind of nervous system. It doesn't have any brain or any proper nerve cord or proper shape or anything. Yes, right? But here, then moving to from the hydra, sponges also we saw, right? Sponges. We saw the sponges also. Okay, we saw the sponges also, then we saw the hydra. Yes, sponges also, there are only nerve cells present, scattered in the body. No proper arrangement of the cells or anything. Yes, and now the planaria, platyhelminthes, phylum platyhelminthes. Yes, so what is happening? The nervous system is gradually changing and it is becoming more and more advanced. Yes, along with the advancement, it is getting more and more complex. It is becoming more and more complex. Yes. So you have studied the type study last year, I guess, cockroach. You have studied the nervous system of the cockroach. When we cut upon, we again get the very transmission shaped brain like this. Yes. Yes or no? Yes. Remember or not? Dissection, I guess, was not there in your study, but we had the dissection where we used to cut open the head of the cockroach, pin the cockroach on the wax trays, yes, and then cut open the brain, so the head part, that flap is opened, and then the brain is removed, and it is put on the slide, and it is also. Yes, so this egg-shaped brain again we found in the cockroach. So cockroach again has a very complex more complex system, nervous system than the planaria. What is the phylum of the cockroach? Arthropoda. What is mean by arthropoda? Arthros means joint, poda means legs. Yes, arthropoda because they have the jointed legs. If you see the legs of the cockroach, you can see these are the joints. Like, yes, you know what are the names of these? You draw the legs like this. Try to find out. Because these questions can come in your whatever your NEET and all. Yes, why these jointed legs? What are the parts of the cockroach legs? Yes, okay. Now, now we have studied the sponges, the hydra, planaria, and cockroach last year. Human was there. Human brain. No. Was it there? No, na. Okay. So these four are the very primitive examples, right? Okay. Now, before going into the more details of the nervous system, let us see what exactly is there in the nervous system. Yes. So there are two types of cells which they are present in the nervous system. One is a nerve cells, and second is a neuroglial cells. इन्हें एक पर मार्क और क्लियर नहीं समझा Okay, so let us start with the neural tissue. I hope it is visible. It is not green, green color. It's shines. Done? Yes. Okay, so the two types of cells are present always in any kind of nervous system or the neural tissue. Yes, the cells are neurons and the neuroglial cells, or they are simply called as the glial cells. Okay, or they are simply called as the glial cells. Okay, now what is the difference between two? Neurons, the structure you already have studied. Yes, neuron is the basic functional structure and functional unit of your nervous system. Yes, your entire nervous system is made up of the neuron. Yes, but what are these neuroglial cells? When the neurons are already doing the function, what are these neuroglial cells? Neuroglial cells are nothing but the accessory cells to the neurons. Yes, they are the accessory cells. Accessory cells means what? They are not actually doing the function of the neuron, but they are supporting the function of the neuron, or they are simply assisting the neuron, the nervous system, to carry out its function. The neuroglial cells can be simply filler cells. Filler cells means what? In the gap between your cranium, the skull, the cranium, the brain box, and the brain is filled with the central nervous CSF, that is cerebrospinal fluid, as well as the neuroglial cells. So what is the function of the neuroglial cells? They are acting as a a small, very minute postman to transmit the signal. Not a major work, but a small impulses they can carry. They cannot carry the entire signal of any action, but the small impulses can be jumped through these neuroglial cells, or they can simply be the filler cells to fill the neural cavity. Yes. Now, when we say when neural tissue, whatever neural tissue is there, the ganglion or anything, yes, the nerves, the bundle of neural tissue is nothing but the bundle of the nerves. Yes, when the bundle of nerve, when it is located, the bundle of nerve is located outside the central nervous system. It is called as the nerve. See what I am saying? When the bundle of the nerve is located outside the central nervous system. What is central nervous system? Brain and the spinal cord. Yes. When this bundle of cell is not a part of the central nervous system, it is called as the nerve. Okay, outside the nervous system, central nervous system. When it is inside the central nervous system, it is called as a tract. It is called as a tract. Okay, so nerve is outside the central nervous system and tract is inside central nervous system. Yes, and there are two types of the nerves outside, not a tract. There are two types of nerve. One is a sensory and second is the motor. Yes, sensory, as the name says, sense. Yes, what is the function of the sensory nerves? It collects the signal from any part of the stimulus, that the stimulus is received or stimuli are received, yes, and it carries those stimuli or stimulus to the central nervous system. Okay, okay. See, last time I have given you the example of the reflex arc. Yes, when the finger is pricked, or when you touch by mistakenly you are flame of the candle is touched, yes, or your finger is pricked. Here, when the finger is pricked, the place of the stimulus is finger, right? Whose mobile is ringing? Please switch it on. So what happens from there? The stimulus is carried out. From there the stimulus. This is a place of the stimulus. Finger is pricked. That is the place of the stimulus. Sensory nerve collect that stimulus from the finger and they travel back. They transport the stimulus to your central nervous system, the brain and the spinal cord, both. Yes. Now what happens? Your brain and the spinal cord, the central nervous system, simply analyze the signal. What kind of signal it is? Yes. Okay. And what kind of response should be generated? If the naturally your hand is pulled back. Yes, not only the finger. If your finger is free, do you pull back only finger? No, your entire hand is pulled back. So the signal again, the we can say the reflex signal is sent to the organ of action. The hand becomes the organ of action. Finger is your place of stimulus. Hand is the organ of action. Yes. So to the organ of action, the proper impulse, the proper signal should be transmitted. What to do? That is done by the motor nerves. So sensory is from the body to the CNS. Yes, sensory is from the body to the CNS, but the motor is from CNS to the body. Okay, so this signal is towards the central nervous system. Sensory nerves carry the signal towards the nervous system, whereas motor nerves carry signal or impulse away from the central nervous system. Got it? Yes? Am I audible here? Okay, so sensory and motor nerves. We will study the sensory and motor nerves when we will go ahead. See, there are when we will study the cranial nerves. Yes, cranial nerves. There are three types of the nerves actually: sensory and motor. And the third type is also there, which is called as a mixed nerve. What does that mean? They are both sensory and motor. Okay, they are both sensory and motor. So there are three types of nerves. One is a sensory, motor, and the mixed. Mixed means both sensory as well as motor. Occasionally, depending on the type of the stimulus, they function either sensory or motor. Okay, depending upon the type of the stimulus and response to be generated. Got it? Okay. So let us start with the neuron structure of neuron. Draw the structure. बंद करना आता ऑफलाइन करते ना ऑनलाइन तो त्याचा इक्वल पार्ट
मीन्स कैमरा ऊपर लेना
रिसर्च प्लानिंग डन neurotransmitter formation of neurotransmitter done okay so this structure you already have studied right so I have just drawn roughly the diagram because the diagram is not there in the in right now in the textbook so I have just drawn to give you an idea what exactly how exactly the structure is yes this is the specialized cell of the nervous system it's called as a structural and functional unit of the nervous system yes Very specialized cells. They are completely different from the other types of cells which are found in your entire body. Yes, and why it is so? Because of their function, whatever functions they have to do, the structure has been designed accordingly. Okay, the nerve cell, the neuron has two basic parts. One is a cyton, yes, and the next from the cyton arises one single long axis which is called as the axon. Okay, now cyton, it's kind like any other cell. Cyton has a very basic structure. The centrally placed large nucleus surrounded by the cytoplasm, but the cytoplasm of the nerve cell is called as the neuroplasm. Yes, and cell membrane, this membrane, okay, it is called as a neurolemma. The cell membrane is called as the neurolemma. Okay, now from each cyton, the central structure of the cyton arise the several branches. Yes, and we divide into sub branches. This is called as the dendrons. Yes, similar kind of dendrons or dendrites or philodendrons are present at the end of the axon also. Yes, axon, there are two types of nerve cell. One is a medulated and second is a non-medulated. Yes, medulated nerve cells are the when the Schwann cells are present. Schwann cells are covering the axon at intervals. Then when these Schwann cells are covering the axon at intervals, it is called as a medulated nerve cells. And when these sheets are absent, okay, these medulated sheets are absent, it is called as a non-medulated nerve cells. Non-medulated nerve cells are comparatively slow to transmit the signals than the medulated one. Medulated transmit the signal fast. Okay. Sorry. Now there are Nissen's granules. Kind of the granules are present very importantly. This function is to generate or the formation of the neurotransmitter. Now what is neurotransmitters? They are the chemical substances which are responsible to transmit the signal when it is not electrical impulse. Neurotransmitters transmit the signal when the signal is not an electrical impulse. Okay. Now, where these neurotransmitters are secreted? Neurotransmitters are secreted by the Nissen's granule, and Nissen's granule, along with the neuroplasm, they are also present at the ends of the dendrites. Nissen's granules are also present at the ends of the dendrites. Understood? Now, why they are present at the end of the dendrites? See, these dendrites, where these are attached, they either attach to any organ, nerve, or basically they are attached to any other nerve, neuron. So they are like this. Here there will be some another neuron, and there will be another neuron like this, and they will be attached to the another neuron. So they are not actually attached. There will be a little bit of gap. I guess I have told you this. This gap between the two nerves is called as a synapse. Okay. So what happens is, suppose these are the two dendrites, and there will be two other dendrites like this. There will be a gap in between. Yes, that gap is called a synapse, but at the ends, each end, the Nissen's granule is present. So when the gap is present, how to transmit the continuous signal? So at that time, the neurotransmitters are secreted from one pair of the dendrite. Neurotransmitter get transmitted to the another pair, and it is picked up by that another dendrite, and the signal is traveled. Okay. So, and same way here at the axon also, the dendrites of the axon, the telodendrons or telodendrites, they can be also attached to the another telodendrite, or simply they can be attached to the another cyton, neuron. Okay. Now, this part, cyton Cyton is always present inside the central nervous system. Cyton is always present inside the central nervous system, inside the brain, inside the spinal cord, or inside the ganglion. But ganglion is nothing but the bunch of cyton only. Ganglion, simply, when we say nerve cells, but basically ganglion is nothing but the bunch of cyton only. Cytons are present, axons are not present. Okay, and these axons, they are coming out of the central nervous system or the ganglion. Why they are coming out? Because they have to travel to the any organ or any cell to which it has to get connected. Okay, so there can be any cell. If suppose this is a cell, any kind of cell. This is any kind of cell. Inside that cell, there many axons are present which will be interconnected. So it forms actually the network, a network of the cyton like this. Suppose this is the cyton. Yes, these are the dendrites of the cyton. So now here there will be some another cyton, whose dendrites will be like this. Here these dendrites will be interconnected to some another cyton. Okay, like this, it's a the network. A kind of network is made, which forms the bunch of the axons or the neural cells, or cytons or the nerve cells. Got it? Okay. Now, there are 2-3 things which are very special kind of cells are present. I told you mediated, non-mediated. Okay. So I'll drop this. Okay. So that was the nerve cell or neuron. Yes. Then there is see that where do the cytons are generally found? Yes. So as I told you, the cytons generally found inside the brain. Yes. Just underline those lines. Okay. Because this can be even your viva question in your practical. Where do we find the cyton? Yes, cytons are generally found inside the brain or the spinal cord. Yes, and inside the ganglia, as I told you. Then small groups of cell bodies inside the white matter of the brain. I hope you know the brain has 2 types of matter. One is a white matter and the gray matter. Yes, white matter and the gray matter. When it is white matter, when only cytons are present, it is a white matter. And when both cyton and axon, the entire neuron is present, it is a gray matter. Now, which matter is a rich? White matter or the gray matter? Rich in the information or the signals, gray matter. Okay, the amount of gray matter, more is the amount of gray matter inside the brain is more intelligent. Okay, because it forms more and more circuits. Yes, see, each time, every second, not even every second, every fraction of seconds, new circuits are formed inside your brain. You cannot even measure how many circuits are present inside your brain. Yes, for every information that you have received right from birth, and you are receiving, for each information, you have to remember any color. For that, the new circuit is formed. You have to remember any smell. For that, it is formed. When the hurdles are there, how to walk. For that, the new circuit is formed. When the road is plain, how to walk. For that, the new circuit is formed. And those circuits are renewed always. They are always renewed. Yes. Okay. When the cells die, naturally, the circuit is supposed to be replaced. Yes. When sometimes what happens, this Alzheimer or kind of diseases, these circuits, they stop replacing. The new circuit formation, the new neurons formation becomes very slow, or becomes sometimes it stops, and that time person starts forgetting what to do in certain situation, which leads to the Alzheimer's disease. Okay. See, as I told you, non in the a bundle of axon called nerve may be covered only by the neurolemma in the non-medulated nerve cells, while the medulated nerve cells, it is covered by the medullary sheath. Yes, I had drawn those sheets, medullary sheaths. And conduction of impulse by the medulated nerve is 50 times faster than the non-medulated. As I told you, the medulated ones are conducting impulse faster than the non-medulated. Okay. So then let us start with the neuroglial cells, which are more in number than the neurons.
Miss camera.
मिस कैमरा नीचे करो ना।
So neuroglial cells, they are, as I have told you, they are accessory cells or they are supporting cells, and they are far more in number than the neurons. Yes, the number of the neuroglial cells is more than the neurons. Yes. Now, okay, and both these cells, neuroglial cells are found in both central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. See, there are three types of nervous system. One is a CNS, PNS, and ANS. What are these? CNS is a central nervous system. PNS is peripheral nervous system, and ANS
Autonomous nervous system.
nervous system. Yes, ANS is an autonomous nervous system. Though all the nervous systems are the parts of your brain and the spinal cord, their functions differ. Yes, the central nervous system consists of only your brain and the spinal cord. Yes, peripheral nervous system includes all the nerves which are coming out from the spinal cord and invading your body. And what is autonomous nervous system? What is autonomous? Autonomous has again two sympathetic and parasympathetic. What is autonomous nervous system? Any idea here? What consists of the autonomous nervous system? Yes. Okay. Now, what exactly is the autonomous nervous system? All the nerves. Yes, sub branches of the nerves. Yes, from the peripheral nerves or whatever small nerves are coming out. Yes, which are capable of maintaining your sound functions of the body. Yes, that means your lungs, all your vital organs. Yes, and your vital brain functions. They are maintained by the autonomous nervous system. See, when the person slips into the coma, autonomous nervous system is of two types. One is a sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Yes, your sympathetic is a conscious one. Sympathetic is a conscious one, and parasympathetic is called as your subconscious mind. So whatever is behind going on. See, you cannot remember what is there in the subconscious mind. It is bring forward only when it is necessary. It is there. All the information which you have learned from your childhood, from your birth, everything is there inside your brain, but it is divided into the conscious and the subconscious. Yes, your conscious one is the sympathetic autonomous nervous system, and the parasympathetic is the subconscious one. Regularly on our day-to-day life, we are using only sympathetic nervous system. Autonomous, of course. Yes, your central nervous system, peripheral nervous system, and sympathetic autonomous nervous system. Sometimes what happens in case of the heavy brain injury, when the brain is hit on the very vital here or at the base, yes, your medulla oblongata or cerebellum somewhere, yes, sometimes what happens, and the major head injury here leads to sometimes it leads to the deactivation or separation of your sympathetic nervous system, and your parasympathetic nervous system becomes active, and the person is said to be slipped into the coma. Yes, the person knows everything, the person is realizing everything, the brain is noticing everything. Only thing is, person is not conscious because the conscious brain, conscious nervous system is slipped. Got it? Okay. So, forget about the autonomous right now. The neuroglial cells, they are present in your central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. Yes, large amount of cells are present in the peripheral nervous system rather than the central nervous system, because central nervous system already has a neuron. So to support them, few neuroglial cells are present, but the peripheral nervous system does not contain the spinal cord and the brain. So the number of neurons are little bit less, but neuroglial cells are there to support the neuron. Okay. Now, central nervous system, there are these types of neuroglial cells present. Each name itself explains what it can be. Oligodendrocytes. Oligodendrocytes means what? It's a dendrital cell. Okay, it has so many dendrites. Yes, these are the dendrital cells. Yes, and what they do, they form the myelin sheath around the axon. See, I have drawn the axon, right? Like this, and I have drawn these sheets now. These sheets are called as a myelin sheets. Okay, and these myelin sheets are made up of the oligodendrites. Okay, dendrocytes, oligodendrocytes. Yes, and what is it? What will be its function now? Since they are forming the myelin sheet, what will be their function? Transmittance of signal. The function will be transmittance of the signal, faster transmission. I told you now when these myelin sheets are present, it is called as a modulated one. Modulated transmit signal faster than the non-modulated. So, what is the function of oligodendrocytes? To transmit the signal at a faster rate. Okay. Next is a microglia or brain macrophages. Microglia means what? Micro means small. These are the small cells and they act as the macrophages. You know what is macrophage? Macrophage? Immune cells. Cells of the immune system. Macrophages are phagocytic cells. Yes, phagocytic cells of entire your body also we find the macrophages. Less in number, of course, when they are required, they are produced more. Similarly, these microglial cells are all the brain macrophages. The function is to transmit the immune signal to the central nervous system. When there is some injury to the neural cell, whenever any neural cell, any kind of neural cell is injured or dead, yes, that signal is passed to the brain and the spinal cord through the microglia or brain macrophages. And what they do, they are not simply transmitting the signal, but they also phagocytize the neural cells. Whatever debris of the nerve cells is there, they phagocytize that and they break down that, and the material is released for the reuse. Okay, so the function is immune function. The function of the brain macrophages is to transmit the immune response and generate the immune signals. Yes. Then is astrocytes. Why it is called as astrocytes? They are star shaped. Okay, they are star shaped. That is why they are called as astrocytes. Okay. Now astrocytes, they are the major parts of your brain. Astrocells are central nervous system. So there are many of the cells of your brain and the spinal cord are astrocytes. Cytons. Only cytons. Okay. And what is the function? They have different kinds of role. The secretion and absorption of the neurotransmitter and maintenance of the blood-brain barrier. It is BBB, 3Bs. What is this blood-brain barrier? Your body blood. Yes, and whatever blood has been being supplied to your brain, it does not get mixed up. Okay, so the blood and the brain, your central, CSF also doesn't get mixed up with the blood. So that is the barrier, your blood-brain barrier. Okay, blood cannot be mixed with your CSF, cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, so that is the barrier. Sometimes what happens when any kind of injury is there and the blood gets mixed, the blood crosses that barrier, at that time the brain hemorrhage occurs. Okay. Lastly, we have the ependymal cells. Now, what are these? These are the single cells of the squamous or the columnar cells. You know, we have 11th standard, we have studied the tissues. These are square cells. They also have, sometimes they can be ciliated also. Yes, and since these are the epithelial cells, where they will be present, they are present inside the lining of the brain, ventricles. See, inside the brain is empty. hollow structure. Brain is not a completely filled structure. It's a hollow structure. Inside the brain, the ventricles are present. Yes, these ventricles inside it is lined by the ependymal cells, as well as the cavity of the spinal cord. You know, the spinal cord is this like this. Spinal cord is like this, but it is a central canal of the spinal cord. The cavity is there. That central canal internally lined by the ependymal cells. And the ventricles of the brain, suppose this is a brain, one ventricle. This ventricle, inside this, the ependymal cells are present. Okay. Lastly, in the PNS cells, there are two types of cells, Schwann cells and satellite cells. Schwann cells also form the myelin sheath. Schwann cells also form the myelin sheath. They are the important cells or important material of the myelin sheath. And since they are present in the myelin sheaths, what is their function? Transmit the signal, the impulse. Transmit the nerve impulse. Okay. And last, satellite cells, as the name says, satellites, they are satellites. They will be supporting cells or transmitting to the supporters to transmit the signal to the nervous system, PNS, from the peripheral nervous system to the CNS. Okay, they are the satellites. Got it? Okay. Now I give you 2 minutes. This table which is given, just go through this table. See, and if you can understand what I have told you, and you have to memorize these names. The question can be there in your exam. Describe in details the types of neuroglial cells. So that time this entire thing is supposed to be written, and you are the very first guinea pigs of the new syllabus, right? So you have to be very careful while writing the answers. Cerebrospinal fluid. It maintains the it doesn't allow the brain to desiccate. Maintains the moisture content of the brain. It doesn't allow the brain to desiccate. If the brain desiccates, it will die. So it maintains the moisture content. It also transmits the oxygen to the brain. Okay, it takes away the carbon dioxide from the brain cells. That all work is done by this. Huh? Brand and old. एक डेसिकेटर वापरता ना तुम्ही केमिस्ट्री लॅब मध्ये तो यूज डेसिकेटर टू ड्राई द थिंग देखा भी नहीं है कभी वहाँ एक से कटोरी जैसे रहता है उसमें बहुत सारा सिलिका होता है ग्लास का desiccation means simply drying out. So it's very, very difficult. Restricted use of Synapse, again, we have already seen what is synapse. Synapse are nothing but the gap present at the junction of the two nerve cells. Okay, and in that synapse, the neurotransmitters are secreted to carry out the impulse. Now, next is the what properties of the nerve fibers. Yes, again, this is the most likely question. Explain the or list the properties of the nerve fibers. Yes. Uh, yeah, there is some reduced syllabus. You know what is the reduced part of this? Great. I am just give me a pencil. But which part is just tell me the number point. Page number 198. This entire table is not there. You tell me the point number na baba. Okay. This 9.15. Chart 9.15 is cancelled. Okay. Huh? Achha, this entire part is cancelled. Okay. What else? It's 200. Okay. This 9.7 is cancelled. Okay. 9.18 types of receptors. Okay. Sub cancel. Okay. From the sensory receptor, everything is red. From 201, page number 201 to 205. So nervous system के disorders हैं. Okay, so from till here 9.7 तक सब cancel. ठीक है? So 9.8 onwards everything is there. Yes? Okay. Still long way to go. Okay. So let us see what are the properties of the nerve fibers. Yes. The very first property is excitability or irritability. Yes, what is meant by excitability or irritability? That whenever there is a stimulus received by any nerve cell, okay, it gets excited. Excitement means simply activated. Okay, it receives that signal and it passes the signal to the next neuron or nerve cell. That is called as the excitability. Yes. Then conductivity. Conductivity, as it says, it can conduct the nerve impulse. Okay, from one neuron nerve cell to the another. Stimulus. Stimulus is nothing but the change in the outer or external or internal environment of the nerve cell. Okay, and that change is detected by the nerve cell and the impulse is developed. Okay, nerve impulse is developed in response to that change, internal or external environmental change, and that change is called as the stimulus. And your nerve cells can pick up those changes as stimuli. Then summation effect. What do you think? What is summation effect? What is summation? Summation of what? Addition. So what? See, stimuli are three types. Okay, stimuli are of three types. Yes, to generate any kind of response, the stimulus that is given to the or received by the nerve cell should have the optimum intensity, or we can say the minimum intensity to which it can give response. Okay, and that intensity is called as the threshold stimulus. You know, na threshold, physics में पढ़ा होगा, chemistry में पढ़ा होगा, threshold value, that is optimum value at which anything is stopped or at a high rate, going on at a high rate. Same way, to generate any kind of response, okay, a minimum or optimum intensity of the stimulus is required. That intensity stimulus is called as the threshold stimulus. If the stimulus it has the lower intensity than the threshold, it is called as a subliminal. Okay, you can underline that. Okay, it is called as a subliminal. And if the intensity higher than the threshold, it is called as the supraliminal. Okay, subliminal stimulus can be of three types. One is the subliminal, threshold, and supraliminal. Okay, so intensity differs. Less intensity than the threshold, subliminal. Higher intensity than the threshold, supraliminal. Now, response generated to the threshold is something with the response can be generated to the threshold stimuli. But if the stimulus is subliminal, most of the time it goes unnoticed. Your nerve cells cannot pick up the subliminal stimulus. Okay? But in case of the supraliminal stimulus, the same response as the threshold stimulus is generated. It does not mean that okay, supraliminal signal hai to aur zyada response karo. No. It generates the response that is equisite and the same as the threshold one. Only thing is, in case of the subliminal, the response is not generated because that stimulus goes unnoticed by the nose. Now, what will be the summation effect? Suppose one subliminal stimulus goes unnoticed. But if the subliminal stimulus is given continuously, yes, is given continuously one by the other, one by the other, one by the other, that time the subliminal stimuli are summed up and the threshold response is produced. This is a very much peculiarity of the nerve cells. One single subliminal signal or stimulus can go unnoticed, but same is being given again and again and again and again. That time the response is generated. Yes. See, it is a very simple example can be given to this. There is a dog who is sleeping nicely. You go and poke the dog. He will not do anything. He will simply change. He will ignore. Again, go and poke the dog. What it will do? It will again ignore. Again, poke the dog. वो अपना position change करके सो जाएगा. Or he will try. He will simply get up and go away a little bit, press away, few steps away, and he will sleep there. You go again and poke the dog. What will happen now? Bark first. Yes, and he will take very defensive stance. And if you still have the courage to go and poke the dog, he will bite. So it's the biting is a summation effect, or barking or the biting is a summation effect. Yes. So at that time, what you're poking is a subliminal stimulus given to the dog. First stimulus go unnoticed, second also goes unnoticed, third one is recorded, fourth one is recorded, and the fifth one with the summation effects the dog attacks. Samjha? Okay. Then the fifth one, all or none law. Very simple concept. Either the nerve cell will conduct the impulse or stimulus, or it will not. If it has to conduct, it will conduct it throughout the entire length of the nerve circuit, or it will not conduct it. Yes, so that is all or none law. Next is a refractory period. What is refraction or refractory? What is the word means?
Anything passes from one medium to another medium.
थोड़ा loudly बोल ना, मोठ्याने बोल, ऐकायला नाही आलं.
Anything passes from one medium to another medium.
Okay. Something from one medium to the another medium, passing of anything, or it can be light, it can be signal, whatever it is, from one medium to the another medium. Yes, from the air to the water, from water solid to the water, anything. The medium can be different. Here what happens, refractory period is the period or time taken by the nerve cells to carry or to pass the impulse to the new nerve cells. Okay, it is the time lapse. Suppose, since what happens here, the nerve fails to respond to the second stimulus. One stimulus is given to the nerve. Yes, nerve cell respond to that. But when another second stimulus, same kind of stimulus arises or arrives to the same nerve, it fails to respond. That is called, and that time period is called as the refractory period. Okay, the nerve simply fails to respond to the second same stimulus. Yes, then synaptic delay. It is a time period. Okay, synaptic delay is nothing but the time period taken by the neurotransmitter to transmit the signal across the synapses from one neuron to the another neuron. Okay, the time period is generally around 0.2 to 3 to 0.5 milliseconds. 0.3 to 0.5 milliseconds. Okay, that much of the little time is taken by the neurotransmitter to transmit the impulse, and that is called as the synaptic delay. Okay, and the synaptic fatigue, when the neurotransmitters are exhausted. Neurotransmitters are exhausted means what? No neurotransmitters are being secreted by the Nissan's granule. Yes, and at that time, the synapses are short of the neurotransmitters and the impulse cannot be carried across the synapse. That is called as a synaptic fatigue. Yes, they are exhausted, the neurotransmitters are exhausted, or maybe the enough amount of neurotransmitter is present, but they are so tired that they are unable to conduct the impulse, or simply they can be absent. Okay, last one is the velocity. What is velocity? What is the meaning of the velocity word? The velocity is, it's a scalar or vector?
Vector.
It's a vector, right? What is vector and scalar?
Depend upon direction and magnitude.
Huh?
Vector quantities depend upon magnitude as well as direction.
Yes, any entity with the magnitude and direction. Or उचलायचंय का त्यांना? Any entity with magnitude and the direction. So velocity has a magnitude also and it goes in some kind of direction. Yes. Okay. So what is the direction? What is the velocity in the nerve cells? Or Khali? It's nothing but the rate of transmission of the impulse. Velocity of the nerve cell is nothing but the rate of transmission of the impulse. Okay, 5 minutes and we finish this. Okay, so what exactly happens? It is rate of transmission of impulse is higher in long and thick nerves. Thick nerves means what? Which are medulated ones. Okay. The rate of transmission of impulse is higher in the medulated, the thick nerves. Yes. And it is also higher in homeotherms than the poikilotherms. Homeotherms means, what is homeotherms? Poikilotherms? You have studied the cold-blooded animals and warm-blooded animals. Homeotherms means cold-blooded or warm-blooded. What about here? What is the difference between what is homeotherms and what is poikilotherm? The word itself, therm means what? Heat. Homeo means what? Those animals which maintain the environment, internal environment constant. Homeotherms. Whatever happens outside, internal environment of the body will remain the same. Warm-blooded or cold-blooded? Cold-blooded. And poikilotherm means the internal environment of the body changes in agreement with the external environment. Like you people, warm-blooded animal. When it is outside, it's very extreme heat. That time, your body tries to cool down itself, get adjusted with the external environment. When it is cold outside, your body doesn't sweat. Body tries to conserve the heat so that the internal environment can be made constant. Yes. So then the velocity of transmission is higher in voluntary fibers, yes, than the involuntary nerve fibers. Okay. See the speed, 100 to 120 meter per seconds in man. Yes. Similarly, it is faster in medulated. We already have studied this. As the impulse has to jump from one node of Ranvier to the next. Now, what is this node of Ranvier? You know? See, this is a neuron. I have drawn the medulated sheet, right? These are the myelin sheet or medulated sheet. These points here, they are not actually gaps. They are point of these junction of these two myelin sheets. They are the nodes of Ranvier. Okay, these are the nodes of Ranvier. So across the nodes of the Ranvier, the impulse are jumped. The neurons carrying an impulse to the synapse is presynaptic neuron. Now this is very important. Huh? See, now this is a one axon which has the dendrites, and here is another one. Now this is a gap. Yes, it is called as a synapse. It is a synapse. Now signal is being transferred from this neuron to this. The direction is this way. Yes, so this one is called as the presynaptic neuron. Yes, and the next one is called as a postsynaptic neuron. Presynaptic and the postsynaptic. Okay, or generator region. Synaptic cleft, and this one is called the synapse, and this one is also called as the synaptic cleft, and the length of the synaptic cleft is 20 to 30 nanometer. Okay, nanometer between the two neurons. Now the process by which the impulse from presynaptic neuron is conducted to the post is called as a synaptic transmission. Okay, the process through which from the presynaptic neuron the impulse is transmitted to the postsynaptic is called as a synaptic transmission. Okay, so that's it. So today, okay,
Miss,
continue.
मिस ऑल और नन लॉ का एक
बोल
एग्जांपल
मैडम.
बताओ ना.
All or the impulse, whatever impulse has been generated by received by the neuron, it will transmit that throughout the other neurons of its circuit, or it will not at all transmit. It will transmit or it will not transmit. That is all or none. Got it?
Yes, miss.
Hello.
Yes.
Internet connection unstable. Okay. We'll continue the next. Okay. हे कसं बंद करायचं आहे? अजून नको.
सर 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 एंड करू का? सर एंड करू का?